Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today we're going to have fun casting items in cement. I cast this cement roof piece for my penjing. Right there, out of cement. I need to cast a cement roof for my second building also. A few years ago, I started working on a temple scene with the Tapram temple from Cambodia, and it was going to be quite a complex thing, and I never got it finished. I never had the time. So I decided I'm going to simplify it to just sort of one sort of part of the temple. And I had this sculpture that I found at a thrift store, and I thought that's a perfect face. And I'll show you some images of what I want to create. I'm going to make a plasticine mold of this face, and then I'll cast it in cement, and then I'll cut the cement into sections and stack it up like the real temples. So it should be really fun. I'm really looking forward to doing this. I started the painting of my roof yesterday, and I put a coat of gray paint on it, and then I gave it a dark wash that brought out all the little crevices and highlighted the details. And today I'll dry brush a lighter color on top that should bring the details out even more. I've got my lighter gray color mixed up, so I've got it on my brush, and now I have to brush it off so there's only a little bit of paint on the brush for dry brushing, so it just captures the highlights of the tiles on the roof. Yeah, you don't want to put it on too thick or it won't capture the highlights. So here I go. I'm going to try just brushing it on lightly, and it should pick up all the highlights of all the texture in the roof. That works quite nicely. I'll do the other side now. I think that will do. I'll check how the color matches the original building. All right, I'll put the roof in place here. Like that. I think that matches quite nicely. I think it's as close as I can get. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Here's a look at the roof detail. So yeah, I think it's as close as I can match, using my plasticine mold. I think it turned out okay. I'm going to switch from working on the roof to molding this face. I was looking at the faces on the Tapram temple and the Angkor Wat temple, and they're kind of flattened. So the ears on this head are quite far back, and on the temples they're more forward. So it's like the whole face is kind of flattened a bit, so it's not so 3D. It's more of a 2D kind of face. But the face is quite good. It's got the right eyes and mouth and that. I kind of wish the eyes were open, but it'll do. So I'm going to cast the front of the face, and I'll see if I can bring the ears forward. I might have to mold them separately, then add them to the mold. It'll be interesting. So here I go. I'm going to get out the plasticine and start wrapping it around the face. This is the plasticine I used on my roofs. I'm going to save this because I can reuse this. I can mold it on the other roof, and it'll make things easier because I have all the pieces. So I'll get out some new plasticine to do the face here. Let's cut it open. So this will be really cool. I'll grow a ficus or some kind of tree that gets aerial roots over top of this temple eventually. And that'll be really fun doing that. This kind of lost temple in the jungle theme is one of my favorites. I'm just drawn to those roots over the temples, these giant, tropical trees with aerial roots, and yeah, so that's my kind of, one of my favorite styles. So I'm going to need more than one. I'll get out another one. We'll use orange and red. And I'll just warm them up in my hands and get them nice and soft. And then I can push it against the face. We'll do a face plant. I've got my plasticine all kneaded together. It's as soft as I can get it. So I think I'm ready. I think I can start spreading it around on the face. And I'll have to make 4 of these faces because the temple I'm looking at has like a face in the front, one on each side, and one at the back. So I don't think I can make, 4 out of the same mold. I'll have to, take the cement out and reapply it to the face and freshen the mold up and then cast another one. But that's my aim, is to cast 4 of them. All right, so here I go. I'm going to apply it to the head now. All right. Here I go. So now I'll have to wrap it around. I'm getting a bit of separation there, but I could have probably gone a little higher. We'll stretch it. Yeah, so I'm hoping I can saw the cement piece with a very thin saw into the brick-like chunks and then reassemble it and make it look really realistic, I hope. Or miniature is the word I'm looking for, to scale. So I don't want this mold too flimsy that when I take it off it kind of deforms. I want it to kind of hold its shape, so I can always add more plasticine if I don't think it's strong enough. I love doing this kind of stuff. It's really fun. I thought about having this face scanned and then 3D printing it. That's another possibility. But sometimes the high-tech solutions aren't as fun as working with your hands and making your own things. Okay, so that is getting kind of covering the face nicely, but I've got to see, I'll check on the photos and see how they resolve this. I know the ears should come forward, so I might have to make a separate mold of the ears and then attach it to this mold. So I think I'll need a bit more plasticine, so I'll get out another piece. I've got some green here. So I'll cut that in half. One for each side. That's a little hard. I'll have to work that in a bit, warm it up. But yeah, I can apply that to the ears and then move it forward. I think that'll work quite nicely. So I'm just going to check on the photographs and see, how the face resolves, if it comes to a flat face or what happens in that area. I checked the photographs and it seems like the face kind of comes almost to a flat wall, so I just need this kind of surface to end in a vertical line, which it basically is. And then I can just kind of sand it flush. And the ears, I checked, they're fairly flat, so instead of kind of being tucked back like these ones, they're almost flat on. So almost like I took a mold and then kind of turned it sideways. So I'll try for that look. So I'll do the ears now. Just gotta soften this up a bit more. And take my casting of my ears. One on this side. That one's quite different on this side. That's okay, I guess. Make sure it's firmly pressed down on the ear. You don't want air pockets in there, cavities. Okay, that's good. So now I'll take the ear off. Try. Wow, it's sticking pretty good. There we go. So there's the ear. You can see it's not perfect. There's a bit of a line down it. I can maybe just fix that a bit. That's just where my plasticine was joined. So there, the ear's fixed up. So now this ear has to kind of come forward. This was like this. I need to bring it forward and kind of rotate it out a bit. So I'll peel back a bit of this plasticine. I'll have to cut away a bit of the plasticine here so the ear is flush like that, and the ear can then go right here like that. Yeah, something like that. So I'll integrate it into the mold. We'll see how this works. It may not be 100%, but okay, now I've got to do the other side. So I'll peel the ear off, then I'll cut away so it sits flush with the face. Like that. And then I'll have to integrate that into the side. So I'll peel some of this away like that, and then push this in. I think this is going to work. I don't know. Get my height right. Okay, about there. Oh, I don't know. We'll see how this works. I think I've got to build my mold up. See how my ear's set back? Maybe I've got to put a bit more up top here. I think I'm getting close to being able to move the plasticine, remove it from the face here. All right, so I can remove the plasticine now. All right, so here I go. I'm going to try and pop it all off in one piece. There we go. So that's my mold there. The ears look pretty good. I'm going to have to fix them up. You can see there's a bit of a gap there. So I'll just have to kind of blend them in a bit better. Just blending in all these seams basically. The rest of it's pretty good. It's got the hair texture and everything in here. And I mean, the stones are quite weathered, so it doesn't really matter if there is some defects in it. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's part of the charm of a ancient temple, is all the weathering and that on it. Just smoothing it out with my finger now. Here's the original statue, and then there's my mold. So I'm going to fill it with cement now. I'll mix up my hydraulic cement now, and I'll need more than I used for the roof the other day, so I'll have to make up a fair amount. I've got my cement mixed up to a nice consistency, so I will start adding it to the mold. Pushing it down in there. Trying not to get air bubbles. So spreading it out kind of evenly. I've got to get in my ears. So you have to work fast with the cement. It has a drying time. It sets in about 3 to 5 minutes. So you don't get a lot of working time with it. The more runnier you make it, kind of gives you a longer working time. But if you have it a thick paste, yeah, you don't get a lot of time before it starts setting. Which is good, actually. You don't want to be waiting too long. It's early enough in the day that I can let this cement harden and we can see the results in this video. So I won't have a cliffhanger ending this time. So there it is. That is my face cast. So we'll let that harden. My next project for today is to take a mold off of this section of the roof and make a cement roof that fits in over top of the planter section here. There's a look at the open planter section that I'll be covering up with a roof like this one. I'm just going to trim away a few leaves that are in the way here. So this one here, and this one. There, now I can get at this roof and this section too. I'm going to reuse the mold I used on my other roof. I'm just going to fix it up. I'm smoothing it out. There were a lot of seams and stuff that kind of interfered with the casting a bit. Oh, so I'll just smooth it out a bit. And then I'll reapply it to the other roof because the tiles are in different scales because the two buildings have a slightly different scale value. All right, here I go. I'm going to try and mold it to the house now. Like that. Let me try it on the roof now. Yeah, that's a pretty good width right there. Now I do want to curve it just a bit. I've lost some of the shape of my roof. I guess that'll do. I think that's not bad. It'll be about the height of this peak here, which should be good. All right, I'll make my end pieces. Okay, I'll mix up cement and pour this. And here I go. Just level off my cement here. Sorry if my hand's in the way. I'm trying to do this carefully. I think that's pretty good. Looks like it's level across the bottom here. While I'm waiting for the cement to dry, we can do a few updates. Over here, I've got my lemon tree, and I have my third flowers out now. So if you look at there, and down below it, the one flower is producing a lemon. So you can see the kind of rounded shape there. That's the formation of the lemon. The other flowers, I don't think will make one. They won't develop into a lemon. They didn't have all the right bits on the flower. They didn't have that, I think it's the pistil sticking up in the middle. So I think I'll just get the one lemon off it. But, you know, I'm happy. I'm happy to get any kind of fruit. And the flower smells beautiful. It's just fantastic. So that's the update of my lemon tree. Doing really well. The next update today is my Ficus lyrata, or fiddle-leaf fig, the one with the giant leaves, and giant they are. They're the size of my hand. They're bigger than my hand. Yeah, they're huge. But I want to show you the base. I did some root pruning on it last time I repotted it. And we'll come down to the base of the tree. And hopefully you can see the root flare developing down there. There's that lowest branch. Yeah, so it's getting some nice root flare at the base of the tree, which is kind of exciting because that's why I started this tree, because they get beautiful ribbon roots. So I'm hoping to get that someday. And it's getting nice bark and looking good. It's going to be a very unusual bonsai. My last update will be my Natal ficus. And I did, a fairly severe root pruning once again on it. And it's growing again. It's recovered and it's growing and looking really good. So that's nice. And you can see the root base down here is getting better, and it'll develop that nice trunk flare at the base eventually. Yeah, so it took a lot of work to get this root base in shape, and the work will continue over the years, but I think, yeah, I see the potential in it now. It's still quite a kind of lopsided tree, but they grow fast, and they you can develop a nice tree fairly quickly from these Natal ficuses. And I'm in no rush, but I'm just going to develop it carefully and slowly. But I think it has potential to be a really nice tree in the future. I'm going to let my cement pieces that I cast today dry, and we'll come back tonight and open up the molds and see how they look. I've left the cement pieces to dry all afternoon. They feel good and hard, so I'm going to try taking the roof out of the mold first, and then we'll try the head. My worst fear for the head is if I break the ears off, but I could always cement them back on, I guess. So here goes the roof. Let's see how this turned out. My end pieces are coming off really easily because I didn't attach them all that well. So there's my roof, and let's open it up now. All right, here goes. I'll peel back the plasticine. So far, everything's going well. I'm not sure if the cement is fully hardened or if it takes 24 hours. I looked on the package. It didn't say anything about how long it takes to fully harden. So there it is. It turned out pretty good. It's got a nice texture on it. The ridge, it has a ridge. I don't know if I'd call that fantastic or anything, but this side of the tile work here, or bamboo or whatever it is, turned out really nice. That's awesome. All right, so now comes the moment I've been waiting for to open up this face and see how it turned out. So I think I'll start with the ears here. I'll try peeling them back. Okay, so that's got the one ear out. I'll turn it around. I'll try and release the other ear here. Let's pick out that piece of concrete there. This will be very exciting. And I've got to cut this into like brick-like sections. So I do have a scroll saw that might work, but I may have to find something finer. I don't know. Like, I don't want big giant gaps between the blocks. Okay, so that ear is released. So now I'm going to do the forehead here. Peeling it back slowly. Or is that the chin? I have no idea. I think that's the chin. Okay, here it's coming off now. Here we go. This is the reveal. Okay, and there we have it. That's not too bad. Quite pleased with that. So there's a look at the final piece. I think the ears turned out pretty good, actually. They're kind of, the face is flat, almost exactly like on the temples. So I'll have to lay out my lines where I'm going to cut this all apart. I think what I'll do for the lines, I'll go on my computer and I'll call up the picture of the temple, and then I'll draw with a pencil where all the cut lines will be. I've drawn in approximately where I've got to separate the face according to, the photographs of the actual temple. And I was thinking, well, if I actually cut this apart, there might be a danger that it'll chip, and by the time I put it back together, it might not look like a face. So I was thinking maybe I should just scribe the lines into the cement so it looks like it's made of blocks. The two differences is that if roots do grow in between the blocks, it'll actually split it apart, which could look really cool. If it's just scribed in, it's unlikely this will fall apart like a real temple would. So, but I think it's just dangerous. If I start cutting this apart, it may break and chip, and it may not look like a face in the end. But I'll see. I'll get out a saw and I'll start scribing the lines, and if it works, Maybe I'll go all the way through. If it looks like it's not working very well, then maybe I'll stop and just leave lines scribed in the surface. I had a look in the toolkit, and I found I have a nice precision saw here, and I've got these really fine saw blades. They're almost like a razor saw. Here's one of the blades, and you can just see the small teeth on it. I'll show you a close-up of that. There it is there. So I don't know if you can see the small teeth on it, but very fine saw blade. It'd be perfect for that if it works. I've also got a rotary tool here that if I found the right tip for it, I have a whole bunch of tips for it. I could find like a cutoff wheel or something that I might be able to come in and grind it apart. So that's another option. And then I have an X-Acto knife. If I didn't want to cut it fully apart, I might be able to score lines with the X-Acto knife. It's a very sharp blade on it. So that's another possibility. I'll have to try. I'm going to try the saw first and see if that works. This is a really nice saw. I used to use it when I was making violins. You can adjust the length, short or long, and then the blade just clamps between using these thumb screws. And it's got a really fancy one on the end here. And a nice wooden handle. So a really nice tool. Then I'll put the blade, I have to get the right length. Okay, that's good and taut. So now I should be able to cut my face apart. I'll just spray a bit of water on as a lubricant. Might make cutting easier. I'm going to try cutting the top off first. See if it works. So I want it nice and parallel, like about here. You can see the water turning a dark color, so it's cutting. Yeah, that made a good line in there. So if I just want to scribe lines, the saw is pretty good. I'm going to try one here. I think this technique with the saw blade is going to work really well. So I'll keep going at it. I'll try and get all my lines put in, and we'll come back and see what it looks like. I found with the saw that you need water sprayed on it, and that keeps the saw blade clear of dust and debris, so it keeps cutting. So every now and then you just have to spray your cutting area with water, and then the saw blade digs in and cuts. And then when you find it just sort of sliding without cutting, you need to spray more water on the saw blade. It's funny, on the real temples, they're not stacked up like bricks with, you know, a line down the middle and then offset. They're just kind of whenever. The vertical lines. The horizontal ones are pretty consistent. Same height. They're always horizontal. But the vertical ones kind of go anywhere. After a lot of sawing, I got all my horizontal cuts made. It looks pretty good. I'm pleased with it. I did have to go through 2 saw blades when it dulls the blades pretty quickly. I decided I can't. I got some cuts that are quite deep. Especially on the sides. But it would take too much work to saw all the way through. So I'm going to have to do the vertical lines a different method, and I've got to think of what to do. Maybe the X-Acto knife, just kind of chip it away and then paint a dark line on it. It's just too much work. If I sawed all the way through these things, it would take me days and tons of saw blades. I just don't have the right, you need a diamond tip saw or something to cut through all this, or a little grinder or something. But I'm pleased. I got it to this stage quite easily. So I think, you know, it'll look quite nice I've got a cast for them. Now I noticed that some of my lines, they're not exactly horizontal, so I'll have to lay that out better. I can always put this one towards the back of the temple or on the side so it's not so noticeable. So, but I'm pleased. I think this is going to work really nicely. I think it gives a real Teprom Temple or Angkor Wat feel. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next stage of this project. I think the project's coming along really well. I'm pleased with the results so far, and I'm looking forward to working on it again tomorrow. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.